Everyone, welcome to Rapid Fire, where we debate some of the top and hottest topics. Like today, we will be talking a little Buffalo Bills Mafia. Should they be lighting more than just tables and jumping on them and breaking them? We'll talk a little Lamar Jackson, which coach is on the hottest hot seat, and a little some who is your MVP. MVP. We'll get into all that. Gilbert Manzano, Fernando Ramirez jumping on with the voice of Vic, the producer. Vic, thank you so much again for doing this.
Thank you guys for having me. This has been great. We got rapid fire. Let's start off with some hot, spicy stuff here. Are the Buffalo Bills pretenders after losing to the Patriots?
Gilbert, eat what is Ghost Reaper pepper? Are the Bills in trouble after Sunday's loss?
They are definitely in trouble, and I'm already catching some heat on the good old Twitter X about calling the Bills pretenders. I'm not going to back away. The Bills barely beat the Giants, who at the time only won one game, and they had to play the Patriots and allow Mac Jones to go off on them. Suddenly, Mac Jones might be the savior in New England after one big game against the Bills. But overall, I think I know where you're going to head with this, Fernando, so I will focus on the offense here. Josh Allen, did enough to keep him in the game, but I kept questioning, okay, when are we going to see Gabe Davis step up? When are we going to see, James Cook be consistent? If you list off the skill players on this offense outside of Stephon Diggs, they don't have that much talent. So when you play hero ball with Josh Allen, he has to carry this team. It usually doesn't go well. So yeah, one bad loss, but I don't trust the Bills offense come January. They are definitely pretenders in my eyes.
We haven't heard much about Dalton Kincaid either, and everybody thought, oh, he's the next generation of tight end. All this, he had a good game on Sunday, but they needed more consistency, especially with Knox being out with that wrist injury. I'm going to call them pretenders, but not for the offensive side of the football. Their defense is taking too many knocks. Milano, White, yeah, exactly. I know that they still have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, which are great safeties. They're one of the best tandems in the NFL, but I still think that their defense is going to be their weak point. You mentioned it, I think, during our live that even Von Miller might be hurt too. So where's the pass rush going to come from? Ed Oliver didn't play on Sunday, so they have some injuries. The injuries keep on mounting for this team, and as somebody who's covered the Charge and the seen injuries mount, it's tough to come back from it when a lot of your top players are out. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to call them pretenders as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fernando. Great point on the defense. I think the biggest loss for them has been Milano because it allowed them to play a certain type of defense. They can't do that anymore, and you're seeing them getting beat week after week on defense. All right, guys, next question. Lamar Jackson was a big reason for the blowout win over the Lions on Sunday. In doing so, he won his 50th game in 68 games, becoming the fifth fastest to do so behind names like Stabler, Mahomes, Brady, and Staubach. Having an MVP under his belt, is he now the front runner for the MVP after week 7?
Gilbert, is Lamar Jackson your MVP?
No, without hesitation. That was one really good game against the Detroit Lions, but Lamar Jackson has been a little shaky. Yeah, he's passing the ball and getting the completion percentage pretty high. I think he's at 71%. Impressive, but he wasn't going down the field. He wasn't attacking. This wasn't an explosive offense until Sunday. So one really good performance does not make you the front runner for MVP. I kind of still want to go with Tua, but you're not asking me who it is right now, so I won't go that way and put the pressure on me because Tua just lost. But Lamar Jackson is not the MVP, but good progress, good performance with Tom Munkin's offense finally clicking together, but it's just one game.
I think because of the way the NFL moves right now, Lamar Jackson is the MVP. Everybody kind of goes week to week. I feel like this week it is going to be Lamar Jackson. If the season ended right now, I think they would go with Lamar Jackson because it's
really
what have you done for me lately? The thing is, he's using the combination of running and passing. And Zay Flowers right now has really come on the whole season. It's like you mentioned during the live, Rashawn Bateman, OBJ, they kind of got to get going too. But Mark Andrews just keeps on being a staple for that team. The 2 touchdowns he had. The thing is that, like you said, they have to be consistent. They need to do this week in and week out. It can't just be 1 week yes, 2 weeks no, 1 week yes. So consistency is key. But as of right now, I would say that because of the way Lamar has kind of played, and everybody was questioning his contract before the season, and especially after that Steelers game. But I say after one of the favorites, the Lions were one of the favorites. Everybody loves them in the NFC. After beating them up, I think people will say that Lamar is the MVP for right now.
Yeah, I gotta go with Fernando on that. Great point about beating the Lions. I think right now he's the flavor of the week. So
One more
2-0
game.
for 2-0 Fernando here. All right,
One
next
game.
one. Next one, Gilbert. Myles Garrett's 81 career sacks before the age of 28 are the most in NFL history. After a dominant performance on Sunday against the Colts with 5 pressures, 2 sack fumbles, 1 recovered for a touchdown, 6 total run stops, including 3 tackles for loss and a block kick. Is Garrett a lock for Defensive Player of the Year, or can someone like TJ Watt or Max Crosby make a run at it?
Gilbert, is Myles Garrett from your Cleveland Browns #1 ranked defense? Is he the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year?
I almost laughed that Vic threw in Max Crosby in there, but it's for sure Myles Garrett. He is a lock, and he was my pick on Compas on the B for Defensive Player of the Year. So I better get this point here. He's a monster, and he finally has help. But I did not like that the Browns defense finally had a letdown game after I called them the best defense in the NFL. But shout out to Myles Garrett for single-handedly keeping the Browns in the game. He is a dominant game wrecker, and Vic rattled off the stats there, so I won't do it again. But it's his award to lose, and I don't expect a decline for a very good Browns defense. But when you need a guy to step up and do it on the defensive side, it's Myles Garrett for sure.
The refs kept him in that game. Come on, let's be honest. That was
A little bit.
some of those games or some of those calls I couldn't believe. But honestly, I think it's TJ Watt right now. I think he has one interception. He has 1 fumble recovered for, well, he has 3 forced fumbles, but he has 3 recovered fumbles, and he has 1 return for a touchdown. He has 8 sacks. I think that TJ Watt is playing well enough, and I think he's kind of a favorite when it comes to this award. His brother did it. He's doing it. I feel like at the end it's going to be TJ Watt that gets it, especially if the Steelers get it. I think it's going to depend on which one of these guys gets their team in the playoffs. But and I know they say, oh, it's only a regular season award, but I truly think whichever one of these 2 guys gets their team to the playoffs, I think that's going to be the Defensive Player of the Year. But I'm going to go TJ. I'll say that TJ Watt right now is the Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm giving this point to Gilbert because that was his pick from before the season. He's been on.
That means it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that is a good point. But because he called it and he's been balling out, I'm giving him the point here. All right, guys, next question. The fan bases for the Chargers and Raiders are not happy with their head coaches. Will either Brandon Staley or Josh McDaniels be fired during the season? If not, is it fair to say that both aren't coaching the Chargers or Raiders next season?
Gilbert, will the Raiders or Chargers fire their head coach midseason?
I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna say okay. There's a 2-part question, right? Being fired midseason and also being fired at the end of the season. I'm gonna say no to both because I think it's too. It just kind of it just really derails your season. It's too much work to find an interim head coach, and the Chargers don't really have a good candidate. I know Kellen Moore is there, but it's his first year coaching Justin Herbert, and he's also struggling offensively. So I think the Chargers will just wait it out to the end of the year. And I think, Brandon Staley could definitely get fired because he's 3 years into it. Now, I say no for McDaniels because I keep going back to Mark Davis. Smart enough. And it's only year 2 for Josh McDaniels. I think McDaniels gets 1 more year. I'm not sure about Brandon Staley, but I don't see a firing, especially not one in season for both of these franchises. And I think McDaniels going to get 1 more season. I'm sorry, Raider Nation.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree completely with Gilbert. The Spanos family will not fire him midseason. I don't think Mark Davis will do it either, and I totally agree that Raider fans should get ready because Josh McDaniels will come back next season. They're not going to pay him and then pay another head coach to come in. They still owe him 2 more years, or was it a 5-year contract?
Who knows?
5-year contract. Okay. They still owe him for 3 more years. So, yeah, no, he's definitely coming back. On the Charger side of things, if they end up with a top 15 pick, I think Brandon Staley will be gone. I think the team's going to need to show some fight. There's already some question marks, especially after did we play zone? Did we play man? Why didn't we play man? All that stuff coming out on Sunday. So I'm going to say that if they end up with a top 15 pick, I don't think Brandon Staley's there. But because the Raiders still have 3 more years under McDaniels, I'll say he comes. And Ziegler's the GM. I'll say Josh McDaniels does coach another season with the Raiders.
Okay, well, that one was pretty much even there because you guys gave the same answer. So I'm just gonna give that a tie. So we're still 2-1 Fernando here. All right, guys, next question. Which team loss from week 7 is the most concerning to you guys? Is it the Lions getting routed by the Ravens or the Dolphins' inability to beat a top tier team like the Eagles?
Gilbert, which loss is more concerning, Lions or Dolphins?
Thank you for letting me go first because I think I might take your answer here, but I will go with the Lions because their secondary got exposed pretty bad by Lamar Jackson, and the Lions defense in front has been pretty good with Aiden Hutchinson. But you mentioned on the live, shout out to you, Fernando, that Aiden Hutchinson was pretty absent against the Ravens, so I think their defense has issues for Detroit. And then also, I worry about Detroit because we were starting to praise them so much, because they beat the Chiefs and they were crushing teams, but I don't know if they're on the level of the 49ers or the Eagles after this bad loss to Baltimore. So I have a lot of questions about the Lions. The Dolphins, I think they're going to be okay because they know how to score points. Yeah, the game has to go their way to score points, but they're going to get Jalen Ramsey back. They didn't have Xavier Howard, and I like what Chubb and Phillips did in Philadelphia. So I'm more worried about the Lions than I am the Dolphins.
I'm more worried about the Dolphins because when you get into the playoffs and you have to face some of these top tier teams, what are you going to do? I told you in the live that game against the Chiefs is going to be very telling because they've already faced 2 top teams. Well, at the time the Bills were a top team. They were playing 2 top teams. They've lost both times. They didn't struggle against the Chargers, but they struggled against the Chargers. If you get what I mean, like they only won by 2 points. That was a close game. That game is going to be very telling in Frankfurt. That's going to be a really good defense they're going to be facing, and they're going to have Patrick Mahomes on the other side. So I'm concerned that they might not be able to beat those top tier teams. Yeah, it's cool to score 70 against the Broncos, but you also have to do it against some of the top tier teams, especially because these are all measuring sticks moving forward. If you're really going to be, because I've told you, I think in the first 2 months of the season, it's the mirage. It's there's always a team that starts off really hot and then slows down, like the Dodgers. You start off really hot, everybody really believes in you, and then all of a sudden you hit the wall and you struggle in the back end. So are the Dolphins a real deal? Okay, go beat the Chiefs and some of these top tier teams. If not, okay, you're a pretender. We'll chill out. We'll just hang out and see what you really are. So I think the Dolphins against top tier talent, I think they're struggling, and I think they should be concerned, especially when it comes to facing some of these teams that they're going to see in the playoffs if they make it.
Yeah, I'm going to give that point to Fernando, and you win this because we've talked about, Gilbert and I, when it came to the on the look ahead show, this was a big measuring stick for the Dolphins, and they didn't prove anything to us in this game. We were, with the Lions, they've won some road games. They've been like a team like the Chiefs. We haven't seen this from the Dolphins yet. And they've been beating up on terrible teams. And until we see them beat a good team, I think you have some concerns with the Dolphins. And so, but I have one more question for you guys before we go. This has to do with college. Every time a college football team has a dominant season, people ask the dumb question if that team can beat the worst team in the NFL. I bring it up because Sunday night's matchup between the Dolphins and Eagles featured 12 former Alabama players. This
Jeez.
past week, a graphic was going around on social media about the players who were on Nick Saban's 2017 team. That team featured 46 players that had played at least one NFL game and 22 players that have started at least 30 games. If the 2017 Alabama team could be assembled now as an NFL team, how many games could they win with Saban as their coach?
Gilbert, the Alabama team, obviously 2017. Could they? Let me read off some names: Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, Najee Harris, Josh Jacobs, Devontae Smith, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Irv Smith, Quinn Williams, Deron Payne, Trevon Diggs, Minka Fitzpatrick, Rashawn Evans. Could they, if they assembled that team right now in the NFL, do you think they could beat a team with Nick Saban coaching them?
Yeah, they're not in college form. They're in NFL top peak form. And Nick Saban, the only hesitation I have is Nick Saban being the head coach, but that's a lot of talent. They could definitely win the Super Bowl with that squad. I have no hesitation about that.
Nick Saban versus Bill Belichick in a charity game. I love that.
Yeah, maybe get out your old
Patriots
buddies
versus yeah.
Yeah, but it's difficult because all the Alabama players are young and the Patriot guys are old.
Gilbert, who's your starting quarterback? Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, or Mac Jones?
Well, not Mac Jones, that's for sure. But I will go Jalen Hurts. He's been in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I go Jalen Hurts. I think if you assemble that team, especially because of that defense would be dirty. That defense has a lot of nasty guys. We've seen Quentin Williams dominate games. We've seen some of the Deron Payne. These guys are nasty. I think they really could do a number. And then their offense. I mean, I read the receivers, Devonta Smith, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs. Like, we all know that team, I mean,
well, they won't have any Ruggs, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm saying in a perfect world, yeah, Henry Ruggs would be playing. That team would be explosive. So, yeah, I'd say they could beat an NFL team. Who's the team that they? I mean, I don't know who. I couldn't list at the top of my head, but they could beat the Panthers.
Oh, for sure.
I think that team could. Yeah, that team could beat the.
You
Panthers.
mean like if they were in college form, they could do it?
No. I mean,
obviously, they're gonna beat down the Panthers. They could beat every team with that roster, Fernando.
You think so?
Yes, that was stacked. If they're on their NFL prime form, yes, for sure.
You think they could beat the Chiefs with that?
Yeah, that's a lot of Pro Bowls and All Pros, man. Come on.
Mm-hmm. No,
yeah, they don't have. Maybe they don't have the consistency and the chemistry and the coaching, but they'll be up there. It's talent.
You know what? The NFL should do this once a year, just a charity game, maybe in May or June. Like, do a charity game and do a game like this, like Alabama versus like Notre Dame, or like, I don't know, years later, like a flag football game, maybe, even if you want. But still, no, I think the Chiefs would beat that Alabama team. I honestly do.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I think so. But I mean, we'll see.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, I know, for real. It's like the like in The Longest Yard, the convicts versus the officers. They should do the guards. They should do something like that. That'd be fun. But we appreciate you guys so much for checking out this episode of Rapid Fire. We will be back next week with Rapid Fire. Don't forget, this Wednesday, Compas on the Beats drops their episode. So make sure you guys tune in and hear what we thought about the Week 7 takeaways. Thank you guys so much for checking this out.